So we are especially honored to welcome our featured author, Steve Capers.
Yeah, all right.
Yes, in conversation about his book, Blackface to Black Faces, the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest story. Steve is a seasoned entertainment executive, entrepreneur, and cultural innovator whose career has been defined by his ability to blend business strategy with cultural storytelling. You're thrilled that we get to show your book here.
When you look at the arc of Black comedy, you got to look at spaces where Black performers weren't even allowed to be themselves. And they couldn't even walk in the front door of many of the establishments they were performing. And then just to take that even further, now you have to add a layer of Black paint on your face, to just minimize you even further, socially or psychologically. And so when you look at the revolution that was taking place, a guy named Charlie Case, he's actually the inventor of stand-up comedy. He left the vaudeville era and he started doing monologues. So he didn't need the music setups or the props or anything like that. So he started speaking freely. And as he goes through the Chitlin circuit, as we call it, uh, a whole nother wave of comedians or artists start to appear. So when you look at people like Moms Mabley, Nipsey Russell, Pigmeat Martin, just to name a few, the Dick Gregory's and many more, they become what they call flat-footed and started doing stand-up comedy, and now they speaking freely, and they really turn it into a real art form. So when you get into the whole wave of the Dave Chappelle's, who you mentioned earlier, and the Kevin Hart's and things of that nature, there's a lot of shoulders we stand on. So when you look at blackface to black faces, the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest plays a huge role in it now because we feel that we're an extension of what took place many, 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 many years ago. So it was actually my brother and my sister-in-law who introduced us to Martha's Vineyard. So coming to Martha's Vineyard with the family year after year, we kind of took a like to it. And so we just decided that, we want to make this an every year thing. And so what happened was at the Inkwell Beach, it was actually my wife who came up with the idea that we should do comedy shows here. And she's an attorney, and I was thinking to herself, no, you need to stay in your lane. I'm the comedy guy, so I'm gonna do, I don't know if it's gonna work.
Mhm.
But just after thinking about it and trying to create a model that will be, feasible to actually bring comedy here, uh, it happened to just work. And so there's a young lady named Lucinda Martinez who worked for HBO, who I used to work with at Comedy Central. She was our first sponsor. So she was able to see the vision that I put out there. And so then she came again and again and again. And so oftentimes at the beginning, the festival was referred to the HBO Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest
Wow,
because they were
really?
the signature sponsor.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
So, but yeah, it was my wife Dorothy who came up with the idea that we should do shows here, and so we just kind of grew it, and it didn't start off like it is now, but it was one of those things you just got to keep going. And so now we're celebrating 15 years, and it's just been an amazing run. And I have a great support cast with Damon Williams, who's the face and the host of the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest. Also with DJ Dollar Bill, who does the music here at the theater and get the show started. And of course, my guy Frank Colasso, who I went to college with. He's when I talk about these guys, they're the pillars to the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest. When I wrote this book, I dedicated it to my mother. So that's where I think you were kind of heading to that love story. My mother's the first person who taught me how to laugh. My mother suffered most of her adult life with a brain tumor. But in spite of that, she still was able to laugh. She was still able to live. She was still able to have fun. And, her thing was a bold effort. Let's do it. Let's go. So I think that mentality just kind of spilled on me. And I think you have to have that kind of mentality to be an entrepreneur because being an entrepreneur, you're doing stuff that's just not logical sometimes.
Mhm.
It's hard to explain, but when you feel you got purpose, you got this drive, you just go for it. And so just knowing that support coming from her and just that influence, just made me continue to go further and further. And then when you look at the people on Martha's Vineyard, I mean, they rallied behind me so much. And so even one incident where another promoter was trying to come in from Live Nation, brought in some big name comedians, and it kind of conflicted with what we were doing. But everyone from the polar bears and just the community of Oak Bluffs, they said if it's not taking place at the Strand, it's not our brand. I didn't
Mm.
even come up with that. Um, and
Wow.
so when you have that kind of support, people like what you're doing, the testimonies that we receive often about we're doing a great job, and the fact that I needed that laugh, thanks for that 2 hours of laughter, it really gives us more fuel to continue doing what we need to do to make this brand bigger and better. And we're at a point now where, yeah, we sell out our shows, but we're trying to extend beyond our in-house audience. And so what we've been doing is what we call the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest Masterclass, where we really take our show on the road. And we've been hitting some of these B markets. We were just in Tune, Tennessee.
Mm.
We're in Memphis, Tennessee. We did New Orleans. And basically, it's a fireside chat plus a live performance from Damon Williams. Then we have DJ Dollar Bill playing music, and then we do the book
You
signing.
were improving at like 9 years old, right? From what I remember. So what was that like for you to have this really unique
My
dad?
dad, he's from New York, from Harlem, New York, and he's one of those guys that love jazz. Matter of fact, he was a jazz musician at one point in his life, so a lot of improvised a lot of different things, and so just his comedic timing, and just seeing something and putting a spin on it. So that kind of fell on us. And as a kid growing up, we used to sit on the porch and play the dozens basically. Or we played Make Me Laugh, which was a game show back in the 70s. And so that was just our way of communicating. That's, especially with guys, we like to join each other, and that's the way we show our love. That's to show our connection. So
Yeah.
the comedy was there to really uplift
Hmm.
and not really to put down. And so when you look at my brand of comedy, we call it cultivating comedy. What we're trying to do is really uplift people. We don't use any derogatory terms or words in the performances, and that's what gives us our distinct brand. Words can hurt, and so I remember once while I was at Comedy Central, we were at a focus group and we were watching a Dave Chappelle show, and this is the time when he was a KKK, a blind KKK person, and he was just throwing the N word out left and right, and it was funny at first, and actually it's still funny. I mean, but what happened was he was teaching us that racism is a learned behavior, but this group that I was sitting with, because I think it was me and one other black, but it was all white people in there. They saw the buffoonery, and so I was like, man, I wonder if Dave could have done that a different way, to get his message across. But long story short, we left, the Comedy Central laid us off like a month or two later. And so now I
And
had
you
the
laughed about
opportunity.
it. You laughed about it. There you
Yeah,
go.
we laughed about it now, but now I could say I could develop my own brand,
Right.
and I can take it and make something of it.
So what is it like? What advice you give this next generation about those who are considering entrepreneurship? They were let go from a job.
Well, first, I'll tell you my experience. There's a guy named James Smith, from west side of Chicago. He went to Ivy League school, and one thing he told me was, if you're so smart, hire yourself. No one ever talked to me like that.
Mhm.
My thing was to go to school, get a job, get the golden apple to watch, and retire. But he was kind of talking to me like more as a mentor, even though he was younger than me.
Mhm.
And he was telling me that stop begging for a job because you could do the same thing. And so what happened was when he told me that, he really got me fired up. And this is the time when you could do things yourself with QuickBooks, with build your own website, all that sort of stuff. So I was like, man, I could do it myself. But what he didn't tell me was, you know, you gotta, the expenses that come along with that, because again, I was thinking I was gonna make I get 100% of everything that I do is all mine,
Mhm.
but there's a whole nother component to it. So I wish I would have started a business while I was in corporate America, like a little side hustle, something that I really like and enjoyed. So that would be my cushion. That would be some of my recommendations. If you like something, just go ahead and do it on the side and then build it while you still have income coming in. That's one. Number two, just know that you have to be fearless when it comes to entrepreneurship. Because again, it's a roller coaster ride. You're going to have doubts in yourself sometimes, but there are going to be high points. But you just got to continue to move, and especially if you feel you have purpose, you just got to hit the wall running, and it's okay to make mistakes. because you can't be perfect.
Sticking to entrepreneurship, your book is self-published, which is a form of entrepreneurship, right? Talk a bit about why you chose that path, what's the process, and any advice that you can share with those interested in self-publishing.
So good question. So the thing is, I went through Amazon to do my self-publishing. It was something that I thought was easy to navigate through. It was user friendly. With Amazon, they're everywhere. So I figured that, with a title like Black Face to Black Faces, the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest story, it could be something that can go nationwide. I mean, there's so many different publishing avenues you can go to, but Amazon just seemed to be the quickest and the easiest for me. And that was just kind of one of those things. It wasn't really a scientific thought behind it. It was just kind of the ease and the convenience of it. But there, like I say, I look at some of the Black bookstores across the country. For example, there's one Baldwin's in New Orleans. I would love to put my books on his shelf, but because I go through Amazon, I'm not able to do that. So, and I'm real intentional with supporting Black businesses. I mean, when you look at everything around the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest, our accountants are African Americans, our attorneys are African Americans, our graphic artists are African Americans, website designers. So, I feel really proud of that, and the fact that I'm able to pay interns to help work at the theater, within the 3 weeks we're here with the festival. So I just got to be more intentional with trying to find Black distribution as opposed to just relying on Amazon. But for the start, for my first book, that's a great avenue.
Can you talk a little bit about the art of action in times of challenging times in particular, and how to move forward through? Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about writing a book because I always thought that, these authors were like really, really smart. And so, when you think of, the Langston Hughes of the world, things of that nature, I didn't think I was on that level. But, there were different things that sparked me to write. And, one, just wanted to leave a legacy. That was number one. And then number two, our voices are being minimized. This is a journey. It's not a get rich quick kind of scheme. So it's just one of those things where I just wanted to say thank you to everybody and make it happen.
Well, listen, you're just getting started. Do you feel like you would write another book?
Yeah, so actually, I am in the process of writing another book, so it's a little different. But I'm using the comedians that have performed at the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest, and we're doing a cookbook with my cousin, Chef Edgar Dookie Chase, in New Orleans. So what we want to do is get their favorite, comedian's favorite dish, and have him do the recipe for it.
Okay.
And so we hope to have that. Yeah, so it's a little different, but we hope to have it available for this August for our 15th anniversary of the Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest.
Amazing.
You heard it here first, I guess.
Scoop, right?
Yeah.
Scoop right here. That's
it.
what this is about. You have something else that you're working on, and I would love to share the trailer to what's next, if you don't mind.
And so it begins, the documentary. Look at that. We are related.
Do we need to swear you in before this interview?
Maybe you need to. Tell the truth, the whole truth.
Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest, it is the premier event here in August. We're the epicenter of African American humor.
We've been providing the funnies for years.
It's a hell of a show and a great place with some great people that have a great time every year. People that don't even go out come to this when they come to Martha's Vineyard. Today we're out here shooting our documentary, man. We want to tell our story. We have a great story to tell. And let me tell you how we be running this place, man. We get down on the Vineyard. The journey we've taken. It's about brotherhood. This is a crew, man. Now, this is the funniest dude out of the whole crew.
Well, people can expect to learn how much of a role I have in the whole fest and how actually I pretty much do everything. And Steve, Damon, Dollar Bill, they're just my sidekicks.
It's about entrepreneurship. Yes. It's about preserving the legacy of those who came before us and providing a path, a footprint for those who come after us. From Black Face to Black Faces of comedy, right here in Martha's Vineyard. 15 years in running. We go back 30 years almost doing this together. Oh yeah. At least 20. Yeah. 28, 97. 97. So there you go. 28 years. Who's counting?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is pretty exciting right here. So doing a documentary, I've been working with award-winning producer John Mark Santafer. So he and I used to work together at BET back in the day. So we're looking forward to that. We still got a couple more cuts to do, some more edits, but it's looking good, and we want to be able to submit it to a variety of film festivals across the country, and also licensed to different streaming services. So things are working slowly but surely, but we're really excited about it.
Tremendous, tremendous. Can you give us any more just color as to how this, the inspiration behind you doing the documentary, please? Yeah,
Well, again, we're just trying to put our voices out there, and we're standing on the shoulders of so many people who came before us. So this
yeah.
is part of our journey, and we want to leave something behind and open the door for future comedians and promoters to really highlight African American humor.